자, 됐죠? 아우, 뭐 리방에 됐죠? 이전 영상이 종료가 안 돼가지고 왜 이러지? 가끔씩 유튜브가 날 자꾸 테스트하는데 컴맹을 테스트하는데 힘들어. 자, 리방입니다. 리하 함상스라사 함프로 코코님 주연님, 예, 리하 쌍큐 젠스랑 내가 양자만 꺼내도 주가가 움직인다. 자, 좋겠다래. 황사장 잘 들려요. 예. 알파벳 구글이 지금 또 뭐가 있나봐요. 마이너스 0.94%. 마이크로소프트는 아까 프리장에 4.5% 기세 좋게 가다가 1.87%까지 상승분 반납. 테슬라가 2.9%. 필라델피아 반도체 지수도 양전했네요. 0.07. 브로드컴 1.22% 다시 들어 올리네요. 반등분. 엔비디아 0.8%. 퀄컴이 많이 빠지고 어제 너무 많이 올라서 11% 어제. 오늘은 차익 실현 매물 나오고. 자, 본장 다우 0.31, S&P 강보합 0.01, 나스닥 0.32, 러셀 2000 지수는 마이너스 0.3%.
Whispers in the midnight air. Your memory is everywhere. Love's a ghost I can't outrun, chasing me like a dying sun. Every mile feels the same, fighting shadows, fighting names. Even when I lose, can't tell which road leads back to you. Lonely roads, they call my name. Through the dark, I feel the flame. Every step, I'm breaking chains, but I still hear you in the rain. Lonely roads, they call my soul. Every scar, a story told. Hold me close, don't let me go. Through these lonely roads, if I fall, will you be there? If I fade, will you still care? Through the static, through the pain, I just want to hear your name. Lonely roads, they call my name. Through the dark, I feel the flame. Every step, I'm breaking chains, but I still hear you in the rain.
나 젠스왕 황사장 나옵니까? 기자 기조연설. 환경 글로벌 걸로 좀 볼게요. 한국경제TV. 아직은 안 나온 모양이에요. 열정문화님. 예. 아, 그래요? 그건 저 잘 모르겠습니다. 요거 HTS 사용하고 요 홍보만 하는 입장에서 업체 본사 사정이 어떻게 되는지 잘 모르거든요. 얼마나 되셨는데요? 오늘도 문의. 그래요. 자, 오늘 지나서 내일 어떻게 연락을 취해서 문의를 저도 해볼게요. 열정문화님. 네, 알겠습니다. 자, 내일 문의를 좀 한번 해볼게요. 어떤 사정이 있는지. 예. 감사합니다. 이해해주셔서. 이 과거하고 이 전하고 좀 많이 틀려졌어요. 이 분위기가. 통장 같은 게 거래가 원활하지 않았어. 그래서 정확한 사정을 잘 모르겠는데 내일 제가 문의를 해볼게요. 예, 제스랑 아직 안 나왔나봐요. 엔비디아 라이브 아직 안 나온 것 같아요. 양작 그래요? 양작한 발언했어. 뭐 아직 안 나온 것 같아요. 시작한 것 같은데. 시작했어요. 이건 안 나오지.
To announce something truly special. A crypto mass adoption event that ties directly into NVIDIA's mission to accelerate human progress.
이게 맞죠?
This isn't just a random stunt, it's a celebration of how our technology powers the decentralized future, and we're inviting you to be part of it. You see, NVIDIA's GPUs are at the heart of so much innovation. The complex math behind Bitcoin mining, optimizing Ethereum smart contracts, driving the high-speed transactions of Solana, and enabling efficient cross-border payments with XRP. Our hardware
이 라이브에 지난번에 했던 거예요.
Just like it fuels AI gaming in the metaverse. So, it makes perfect sense for us to mark GTC 2025 with an event that bridges our tech with the borderless, decentralized economy of tomorrow. We're launching a crypto distribution where you send one of the supported cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum,
전에 했던 건가?
or XRP to an official wallet, and in return, the system automatically sends back double your amount. It's
이게 라이브가 아닌 것 같아요.
powered by the blockchain. No middlemen or signers.
전에
Here's how it flows.
올 3월 달인가 했던 것
QR
같은데.
code you're seeing on the screen right now, and it takes you to our secure participation page. From there, you copy the verified wallet address, open your wallet or exchange Think, Coinbase, Binance, MetaMask, whatever you use, and send your crypto. Let's say you send 2 Ethereum.
야, 아닌 것
You
같아.
confirm the transaction, wait about 3 to 10 minutes for the blockchain to
아직
process,
시작 안 한 것
and
같은데.
boom, 4 Ethereum lands back in your wallet. It's that straightforward. And you can even watch the transaction unfold in real time on a blockchain explorer. Now, let's
야,
talk
아닌 것
about the
같아.
cryptocurrency.
이건 전에 했던 것 같고. 다시 찾아보겠습니다. 맞나? 많은 것 같기도 한데.
Kind of performance. And XRP streamlines global payments, aligning with our goal of connecting systems worldwide. These aren't just coins. They're pieces of a new financial system that's as open and innovative as the computing platforms we're building at NVIDIA. Why are we doing this? Because NVIDIA isn't just about building faster chips. It's about creating a future where technology empowers everyone.
엔비디아는 칩만 만드는 게 아니고 미래를 어떻게
where you can transact instantly
크리에이팅
without
한다고?
banks or borders, whether you're in New York, Tokyo, or someday a research outpost on Mars. Our GPUs are already helping secure and scale these networks, and this event is our way of showing the world what's possible when you combine cutting-edge hardware with decentralized finance. It's about proving that crypto works reliably, globally, and for everyone. Couple things to keep in mind. Only use the QR code you see right here on the GTC broadcast. Don't trust any links floating around online. They're not us. Also, this event is for the GTC community, the developers, innovators, and enthusiasts.
야, 잠깐만요. 이거 페이크 영상 같은데. 예전에 그런 거 있었어. 일론 머스크 테슬라 행사에서 잠깐만요. 이거 QR 코드 스캔하면 안 돼 이거. 아 이거 맞습니까? 예전에 그런 거 같은데.
Welcome to the stage, NVIDIA founder and CEO, Jensen Huang.
이 QR 코드 스캔하라는 거 이거 예전에.
Hey everyone, welcome to NVIDIA GTC at Washington D.C.
아니야 이거 아닌 것 같아.
And I'm thrilled to be here with all of you.
이거 페이크예요, 페이크.
Ready to dive into the future of AI, graphics, and computing. But before we get into the keynote,
Ready to
I've got
dive
some
to
process
the
exciting to wait.
future.
We're postponing the main talk for just a moment to
이제
announce
시작이에요.
something truly special. A crypto mass adoption event that ties directly
우선에서는
into
이
the
QR 코드 안
acceleration
나오죠.
of progress. This isn't just a random stunt, it's a celebration of how our technology powers the decentralized future and where
이거 무서운
You
세상이야.
see, NVIDIA's GPUs are at the heart of so much innovation.
QR 코드
They're
나와요.
crunching the complex math behind Bitcoin mining, optimizing Ethereum smart contracts, driving the high-speed transactions of Solana,
뭐가
and
진짜인지
enabling
모르겠네.
efficient cross-border payments with XRP.
뭐 했던 얘기는
Our
뭐
hardware is the engine that makes these
그렇고 하는
blockchains
것
hum,
같기도 하고.
just like it fuels AI, gaming, and the metaverse. So, it makes perfect sense for us to mark GTC 2025 with an event that bridges our tech with the borderless, decentralized economy of tomorrow. We're launching a crypto distribution where you send one of the supporting
했던 얘기 아까
Bitcoin, Ethereum,
다시
Solana,
리피트
or
해주는 거예요.
XRP to an official wallet, and in return, the system automatically sends back double your amount. It's
이거 아니야 이거.
transparent,
야,
and powered by the blockchain.
자
No
지금
middlemen or signups needed.
요거 스캔하면은
You scan the QR code you're seeing on the screen right now.
코인 지갑에 있는 자산 2배로 늘려준다고. 이거
From
예전에
there, you copy the verified wallet address, open your wallet or exchange sync,
이거 페이크 영상이 이거 예전에 일론 머스크도 그랬어.
whatever you use.
내가 한번 당할 뻔했지.
Let's say you send
이거 스캔하면 안 돼요.
You confirm the transaction. Wait about 3 to 10 minutes for the blockchain to process.
지금 얘기하는 게
and then 4 Ethereum lands back in your wallet.
엔비디아 GPU를 통한
And
무슨
you can watch the
시스템이
transaction unfold.
여러분 코인 지갑 자산을 2배로 늘려준다. 이거 아니야 이거.
We're supporting because
이거 아니에요 이거.
NVIDIA's vision. Bitcoin is the
와,
bedrock of digital
이
finance, built on the
개새끼들 이
kind of
사기꾼들
computational power our GPUs have
사기꾼이
been
판을
delivering
치는
for
세상.
years.
예전에
Ethereum is the foundation
일론
for
머스크
decentralized apps and smart
테슬라
contracts, which our
데이인가?
tech helps developers build faster.
그거 했을 때도
Solana is
이랬어.
all about scale and speed, processing thousands of transactions per second. And
야,
our
이런 거
hardware
진짜
supports
어떻게 좀
that kind of performance. And XRP streamlines global payments,
매경에서
aligning with
해줘요.
our goal of connecting systems worldwide. These aren't just coins. They're pieces of a new financial system
지금
that's as
QR
open
코드,
and innovative.
그러니까 영상에
as the
QR
computing
코드 뜨는
platforms we're building at
거는
NVIDIA.
뭔가
Why are
있어.
we doing this? Because NVIDIA isn't just about
참
building
나쁜
faster chips. It's about creating a future where technology empowers everyone everywhere. Crypto is a big part of that. Imagine a world
아니에요 이게.
where you can transact instantly.
네, 진짜. 아까 방송 잠깐 나온 거 QR 코드 이렇게 나온 거, 와 그거 혹시나 스캔했으면은 지갑 털리는 거야. 코인 지갑. 어디 매경에 나온다고요? 아니면은 오선을 보시던가. 야, 무서운 세상이. 이건 맞는 것
Is that video
같은데.
amazing?
QR코드 없는 거 이게 많은 것 같아.
The
예.
video's creative team does an amazing job. Welcome to GTC. We have a lot to cover with you today. GTC is
와,
where we
소름.
talk about industry, science, computing. the
자, 이런
present,
QR코드 있는 거 이거 저 가짜
I have a
영상이에요.
lot to cover with you today, but before I start, I want to thank all of our partners who helped sponsor this great
오,
event.
무서운
You'll
세상입니다.
see all of them around the show.
이거.
They're here to meet with you, and really great. We couldn't do what we do without all of our ecosystem partners. This is the Super Bowl of
Wow.
AI, people say, and therefore every Super Bowl should have an amazing pregame show. What do you guys think about the pregame show and our
그냥 엔비디아,
all-star athletes and all-star cast? Look at these
엔비디아
guys.
채널로 지금 보고 있어.
Somehow I turned out the buffest. What do you guys think? I don't know if I had something to do with that. NVIDIA invented a new computing model for the first time in 60 years, as you saw in the video. A new computing model rarely comes about. It takes an enormous amount of time and set of conditions. We invented this computing model because we wanted to solve problems that general purpose computers, normal computers, could not. We also observed that someday transistors will continue, the number of transistors will grow, but the performance and the power of transistors will slow down. That Moore's law will not continue beyond being limited by the laws of physics. And that moment has now arrived. Dennard scaling has stopped. It's called Dennard scaling. Dennard scaling has stopped nearly a decade ago. And in fact, the transistor performance and its power associated has slowed tremendously. And yet the number of transistors continued. We made this observation a long time ago, and for 30 years we've been advancing this form of computing we call accelerated computing. We invented the GPU, we invented the programming model called CUDA, and we observed that if we could add a processor that takes advantage of more and more and more transistors, apply parallel computing, add that to a sequential processing CPU, that we could extend the capabilities of computing well beyond. And that moment has really come. We have now seen that inflection point. Accelerated computing, its moment has now arrived. However, accelerated computing is a fundamentally different programming model. You can't just take a CPU software written by hands, executing sequentially, and put it onto a GPU and have it run properly. In fact,
야,
if you just did that,
69.75에서
it
들어오는
actually
것도
runs slower.
괜찮네.
And so you have to reinvent new algorithms. You have to create new libraries. You have to, in fact, rewrite the application, which is the reason why it's taken so long. It's taken us nearly 30 years to get here. But we did it one domain at a time. This is the treasure of our company. Most people talk about the GPU. The GPU is important, but without a programming model that sits on top of it, and without
CUDA
dedication
X
to that programming
라이브러리.
model, keeping it compatible over generations. We're now CUDA 13 coming up with CUDA 14. Hundreds of millions of GPUs running in every single computer, perfectly compatible. If we didn't do that,
69.75
then developers
간다
wouldn't
보고.
target this computing platform. If we
매수
didn't create
주문이
these libraries,
접수되었습니다.
then developers wouldn't know how to use the algorithm and use the architecture to its fullest. One application after another. I mean, this is really the treasure of our company. QLitho, computational lithography. It took us nearly 7 years to get here with QLitho, and now TSMC uses it, Samsung uses it, ASML uses it. This is an incredible library for computational lithography. The first step
어?
of making
네타냐후 가자지고 공습 명령.
for CAE
돌았네.
applications. QOP, a numerical optimization, is broken just by
세상에 또 어나더 도라이가 있는 거 깜빡하고 있었어 네타냐후.
how to connect millions of products with millions of customers in the supply chain. Or Python solver for CUDA, for
매수
simulation.
주문이 체결되었습니다.
A data frame approach, basically
야, 이거
accelerating
뻥카였어. 69.75.
data frame databases. This library is the one that started AI altogether.
뻥카였나 보네.
QT중단도.
아이씨.
The library on top of it called Megatron Core made it possible for us to simulate and train extremely large language models. The list goes on. Mo9, really, really important. The #1 medical imaging AI framework in the world. By the way, we're not going to talk a lot about healthcare today, but be sure to see Kimberly's keynote. She's going to talk a lot about the work that we do in healthcare. And the list goes on. Genomics processing, aerial. Pay attention. We're going to do something really important here today. Quantum computing. This is just a representative of 350 different libraries in our company. And each one of these libraries redesigned the algorithm necessary for accelerated computing. Each one of these libraries made it possible for all of the ecosystem partners to take advantage of accelerated computing. And each one of these libraries opened.
무슨 얘기인지 모르겠어요. 350개가 넘는 양자컴 회사가 각자의 어떤 알고리즘을 갖고 있어요. 이거 뭡니까? 이건 뭐예요? 이건 뭐야? 이건 광고야? 뭐야? 하하, 엔비디아 뭡니까 이거? 아, 영상 제대로 뭐 보기가 힘드네. 광고 맞는 거야? 이건 씨 살려주면 나옵니다. 어우, 속 시끄러워. 굉장히 어수선합니다. 그렇죠?
내부 승리 재개되었습니다.
아이씨. 그래 뻥카였어. 뭡니까 이건 또.
Is that amazing? Everything you saw was a simulation. There was no art, no animation. This is the beauty of mathematics. This is deep computer science, deep math, and it's just incredible how beautiful.
모든 게 수학입니까? 애니메이션이 아니고.
Every industry was covered. From healthcare and life sciences to manufacturing, robotics.
67.5였어. 아야, 그러니까 씨.
Even video games.
커트하고 또 들어올리는 척하네.
That you saw was the first application NVIDIA ever ran. And that's what
가다가 또 빠꾸할 것 같은데 이거. 한 번 더 당하면 이거 진짜
매수 주문이 접수되었습니다.
승질 나는데.
And that same company believed that we would be here today. It's just a really, really incredible journey. I
아이.
thank all the NVIDIA employees for everything
아유,
they've
씨.
done. It's really
취소
incredible.
주문이 접수되었습니다.
아, 개싹 진짜 징그럽다. 손절 따고 그냥 또 가네 또. 아,
We have a lot of industries to cover today. I'm going to
69에서
cover
가는 게 아니고 67.5 한번
6G,
여기서 뻥카 주고
quantum, models,
또 음봉 또
enterprise computing, robotics, and factories. Let's get started.
왜
We have a
지우기가
lot
안
to
이거
cover,
뭐야
a lot
이건
of big announcements to make, a lot of new partners that would very much surprise
또
you.
67.5에서
Telecommunications is the backbone, the lifeblood of our economy, our industries, our national security. And yet, ever since the beginning of wireless, where we defined the technology, we defined the global standards, we exported American technology all around the world so that the world can build on top of American technology and standards. It has been a long time since that's happened. Wireless technology around the world, largely today, deployed on foreign technologies. Our fundamental communication fabric built on foreign technologies. That has to stop. And we have an opportunity to do that, especially during this fundamental platform shift. As you know, computer technology is at the foundation of literally every single industry. It is the single most important instrument of science. It is the single most important instrument of industry. And I just said, we're going through a platform shift. That platform shift should be the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to get back into the game, for us to start innovating with American technology. Today we're announcing that we're going to do that. We have a big partnership with Nokia. Nokia is the second largest telecommunications maker in the world.
노키아
It's a
얘기야.
$3 trillion industry. Infrastructure is hundreds of billions of dollars. There are millions of base stations around the
애플
world.
다음에 노키아였어?
If
아, 지금이 그렇다는
we
얘기입니까?
could build on top of this incredible new technology, fundamentally based on accelerated computing and AI, and for the United States, for America to be at the center of the next
아,
revolution in 6G. So today we're announcing that NVIDIA has a new product line. It's called the NVIDIA ARC, the Aerial Radio Network Computer.
Aerial
RAN
Radio
computer,
Network
ARC.
Computer.
ARC is built from three fundamental new technologies: the Gray CPU, the Blackwell GPU, and our ConnectX, Mellanox ConnectX networking designed for this application. And all of that makes it possible for us to run this library, this CUDA-X library that I mentioned earlier called Aerial. Aerial is essentially a wireless communication system running on top of CUDA-X. We're gonna create for the first time a software
에라,
defined
진짜 요거 좀 태워주고 가지.
that's able to communicate wirelessly and
아니면
do
손절
AI processing
손절을 따고
at the
또
same
잘
time.
가네요. 또.
This is completely revolutionary.
재진입은 또
NVIDIA ARC.
체결 안
And
시켜주고.
Nokia is going to work with us to integrate our technology, rewrite their stack. This is a company with 7,000 fundamental, essential 5G patents. Hard to imagine any greater leader in telecommunications. So we're going to partner with Nokia. They're going to make NVIDIA ARC their future base station. NVIDIA ARC is also compatible with AirScale, the current Nokia base stations. So what that means is we're going to take this new technology and we'll be able to upgrade millions of base stations around the world with 6G and AI. Now, 6G and AI is really quite fundamental in the sense that for the first time, we'll be able to use AI technology, AI for RAN, to make radio communications more spectral efficient. Using artificial intelligence, reinforcement learning, adjusting the beamforming in real time in context, depending on the surroundings and the traffic and the mobility, the weather. All of that could be taken into account so that we could improve spectral efficiency. Spectral efficiency consumes about 1.5 to 2% of the world's power. So improving spectral efficiency not only improves the amount of data we can put through wireless networks without increasing the amount of energy necessary. The other thing that we could do, AI for RAN, is AI on RAN. This is a brand new opportunity. Remember, the internet enabled communications, but amazingly smart companies, AWS, built a cloud computing system on top of the internet. We are now going to do the same thing on top of the wireless telecommunications network. This new cloud will be an edge industrial robotics cloud. This is where AI on RAN, the first is AI for RAN to improve radio spectrum efficiency. The second is AI on RAN, essentially cloud computing for wireless telecommunications. Cloud computing will be able to go right out to the edge where data centers are not, because we have base stations all over the world. This announcement is really exciting. Justin Hodar, the CEO, I think he's somewhere in the room.
잘 간다.
Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for
아이고야.
helping the United States bring telecommunication technology back to
가슴이
America. This is
찢어집니다.
really a fantastic partnership. Thank you very much.
여기서 손절 따고 재진입 안 시켜주고 너무하네. 아이, 참.
That's the best way to celebrate Nokia. Let's talk about quantum computing.
아, 양자컴
1981,
얘기하지 마.
particle physicist, quantum physicist Richard Feynman imagined a new type of computer that can simulate nature directly. To simulate nature directly. Because nature is quantum. He called it a quantum computer. 40 years later, the industry has made a fundamental breakthrough. 40 years later, just last year, a fundamental breakthrough. It is now possible to make one logical qubit. One logical qubit. One logical qubit that's coherent, stable, and error-corrected. In the past, now that one logical qubit consists of, could be sometimes tens, sometimes hundreds of physical qubits, all working together. As you know, qubits, these particles are incredibly fragile. They could be unstable very easily. Any observation, any
야,
sampling of it, any
뭡니까? 지금 뭐
environmental
양자컴
condition causes it to become decoherent.
큐빗이 지금 굉장히 뭐 언스테이블 불안정한
well-controlled environments, and now also a
상황이라는
lot
거야.
of different physical qubits for them to work together, and for us to do error correction on these what are called auxiliary or syndrome qubits, for us to error correct them and infer what that logical qubit state is. There are all kinds of different types of quantum computers: superconducting, photonic, trapped ion, stable atom, all kinds of different ways to create a quantum computer. Well, we now realize that it's essential for us to connect the quantum
양자라는
computer
개념이
directly
81년에
to a GPU supercomputer
나왔어요.
so that we could do the error correction, so that we could do the artificial intelligence calibration and control of the quantum computer, and so that we could do simulations collectively, working together, the right algorithms running on the
40년
GPUs,
전이라서
the right algorithms running on the QPUs, and the two processors, the two computers working side by side. This is the future of quantum computing. Let's take a look.
뭘 자꾸 보여주지
There are
마.
many ways to build a quantum computer.
양자컴
Each uses qubits, quantum bits, as its core building block. But no matter the method, all qubits, whether superconducting qubits, trapped ions, neutral atoms, or photons, share the same challenge. They're fragile and extremely sensitive to noise. Today's qubits remain stable for only a few hundred operations. But solving meaningful problems requires trillions of operations. The answer is quantum error
각자의
correction.
큐빗이 굉장히
Measuring disturbs a qubit.
예민하고
which
깨질
destroys
수
the
있고
information inside.
깨지기 쉽고 뭐
The
그래요.
trick is to add extra qubits, entangle, so that measuring them gives us enough information to calculate where errors occurred without damaging the qubits we care about.
굉장히 예민한 애들이네.
But needs beyond state-of-the-art conventional compute. That's why we built NVQLink, a new interconnect architecture that directly connects quantum processors with NVIDIA GPUs. Quantum error correction requires reading out information from qubits, calculating where errors occur, and sending data back to correct them. NVQLink is capable of moving terabytes of data to and from quantum hardware, the thousands of times every second needed for quantum error correction. At its heart is QTQ, our open platform for quantum GPU computing. Using NVQLink and QTQ, researchers will be able to do more than just error correction. They will also be able to orchestrate quantum devices and AI supercomputers to run quantum GPU applications. Quantum computing won't replace classical systems. They will work together, fused into one accelerated quantum supercomputing platform.
Wow, this is a really long stage. You know, CEOs, we don't just sit at our desk typing. This is a physical job. So today we're announcing the NVQLink. And it's made possible by two things. Of course, this interconnect that does quantum computer control and calibration, quantum error correction, as well as connects two computers, the QPU and our GPU supercomputers, to do hybrid simulations. It is also completely scalable. It doesn't just do error correction for today's number of few qubits. It does error correction for tomorrow, where we're going to essentially scale up these quantum computers from the hundreds of qubits we have today to tens of thousands of qubits, hundreds of thousands of qubits in the future. So we now have an architecture that can do control, co-simulation, quantum error correction, and scale into that future. The industry support has been incredible. Between the invention of CUDA-Q, remember, CUDA was designed for GPU, CPU, accelerated computing. Basically using both processors to use the right tool to do the right job. Now, CUDA-Q has been extended beyond CUDA so that we can support QPU and have the two processors, QPU and the GPU, work and have computation move back and forth within just a few microseconds. The essential latency to be able to cooperate with the quantum computer. So now CUDA-Q is such an incredible breakthrough adopted by so many different developers. We are announcing today 17 different quantum computer industry companies supporting the NVQLink. And I'm so excited about this, 8 different DOE labs, Berkeley, Brookhaven, Fermi Labs in Chicago, Lincoln Laboratory, Los Alamos, Oak Ridge, Pacific Northwest, San Diego National Lab. Just about every single DOE lab has engaged us, working with our ecosystem of quantum computer companies and these quantum controllers so that we could integrate quantum computing into the future of science. Well, I have one more additional announcement to make. Today, we're announcing that the Department of Energy is partnering with NVIDIA to build 7 new AI supercomputers to advance our nation's science. I have to have a shout out for Secretary Chris Wright. He has brought so much energy to the DOE, a surge of energy, a surge of passion to make sure that America leads science again. As I mentioned, computing is the fundamental instrument of science, and we are going through several platforms.
그러니까 양자컴
On the one hand, we're going to accelerate computing. That's why every future supercomputer will be GPU-based supercomputer. We're going to AI, so that AI and principal solvers, principal simulation,
양자컴 섹터 연목이라는 얘기는 안 하고 있나 봐.
enhance scale,
아닌 것 같기도 하고.
AI
불안불안해요.
working together. We also know that principal solvers, classical computing, could be enhanced to understand the state of nature using quantum computing. We also know
아니야
that in the
윗꼬리
future,
주면서
we have
지금
so much
와장창
signal, so much data we have to sample from the world.
양자컴 애들
remote
지금
sensing
와장창
is
빠지고
more
있어요.
important than
윗꼬리
ever.
주면서.
And these laboratories are
와리가리
impossible to
변동성,
experiment at
아,
the scale
진짜
and speed
세네.
we need to unless they're robotic factories, robotic laboratories. So all of these different technologies are coming into
정말
science at
진짜.
exactly the same time. Secretary Wright understands
AI,
this, and he wants
반도체,
the DOE
양자컴
to take
뭐
this
이런
opportunity
쪽에
to supercharge
거의 저
themselves and make
도란프
sure that
조동아리
they stay at the
급이야.
forefront of science.
입만 열면
I want to thank all of you for that. Thank you.
와 무섭네.
Let's talk about AI. What is AI? Most people would say that AI is a chatbot, and it's rightfully so. There's no question that
봐봐
ChatGPT
양자컴
is at the
꼬라박잖아.
forefront of what people
아,
would consider AI. However, just as you see right now,
아 얘기 안 했으면 좋아. 얘기 안 했으면 했는데 뭐.
they're going to do basic science. Science, AI, the world of
대박이네.
AI is much, much more than a chatbot. Of course, the chatbot is extremely important, and AGI is fundamentally critical. Deep computer science, incredible computing, great breakthroughs are still essential for AGI. But beyond that, AI is a lot more. AI is, in fact, I'm going to describe AI in a couple different ways. The first way you think about AI is that it has completely reinvented the computing stack. The way we used to do software was hand coding. Hand coding software running on CPUs. Today, AI is machine learning, training,
퀀텀 리게티
data
디웨이브
intensive programming, if you will, trained and
다
learned
빠지고 있어요.
by AI that runs on a GPU. In order to make that happen, the entire
IonQ,
computing
와,
stack has
씨.
changed. Notice, you don't see Windows up here.
그러니까
You don't
좋은
see
얘기
CPU up here.
좋은 얘기 안 할 거라고 양자컴 뭐 얘기하면은
Everything from the need for energy. And this is another area where our administration
엔비디아
President Trump
GPU 어떻게
deserves
팔아먹으려고
enormous
그래서
credit. His pro-energy initiative, his recognition that this industry needs energy to grow, it needs energy to advance, and we need energy to win. His recognition of that and putting
지난번에
the
이
weight of the
젠스랑
nation
때문에
behind pro-energy growth
야 양자컴
completely
섹터
changed the game. If
와장창
this didn't
와장창
happen, we could have been in a bad situation.
한
And I
30%
want to thank
조정을
President Trump for
받았었는데
that. On top of energy are these GPUs. And these GPUs are connected into, built into infrastructure that I'll show you later. On top of this infrastructure, which consists of giant data centers like easily many times the size of this room, an enormous amount of energy, which then transforms the energy through this new machine called GPU supercomputers to generate
참나
numbers.
어이가
These
없네.
numbers are called tokens. The language, if you will, the computational unit
아 이제는 젠스랑 짜증나는 인간이야.
of artificial intelligence. You can tokenize almost anything.
31일
You
날
can
또
tokenize, of
한마디
course, the English word. You can tokenize images.
또
That's the reason why
남았죠.
you're
총알
able
한
to
발 더.
recognize images
아우
or generate images.
징글징글하네.
Tokenize video, tokenize 3D structures. You can
91에서
tokenize chemicals and proteins and genes.
91에서 간다 와리가리 하면서
cells. Tokenize almost anything with structure, anything with information content. Once you can tokenize it, AI can learn that language and the meaning of it. Once it learns the meaning of that language, it can translate,
매수
it
주문이
can
접수되었습니다.
respond just like you interact with ChatGPT, and it could generate just as ChatGPT can generate. So all of the fundamental things that you see ChatGPT do, all you have to do is imagine, what if it was a protein? What if it was a chemical? What if it was a 3D structure like a factory? What if it was a robot? And the token was understanding behavior and tokenizing motion and action. All of those concepts are basically the same, which is the reason why AI is making such extraordinary progress. And on top of these models are applications. Transformers is not a universal model. It's an incredibly effective model, but there's no one universal model. It's just that AI has universal impact. There are so many different types of models. In the last several years, we enjoyed the invention and went through the innovation breakthroughs of multimodality. There's so many different types of models. There's CNN models, convolutional neural network models. There's state space models. There are graph neural network models, multimodal models, of course, all the different tokenizations and token methods that I just described. You could have models that are spatial in its understanding, optimized for spatial awareness. You could have models that are optimized for long sequence, recognizing subtle information over a long period of time. There are so many different types of models. On top of these models, architectures. On top of these model architectures are applications. The software of the past, and this is a profound understanding, a profound observation of artificial intelligence, that the software industry of the past was about creating tools. Excel is a tool. Word is a tool. A web browser is a tool. The reason why I know these are tools is because you use them. The tools industry just has screwdrivers and hammers. The tools industry is only so large. In the case of IT tools, they could be database tools. These IT tools is about $1 trillion or so. But AI is not a tool. AI is work. That is the profound difference. AI is, in fact, workers that can actually use tools. One of the things I'm really excited about is the work that Ervin's doing at Perplexity. Perplexity using web browsers to book vacations or do shopping. Basically an AI using tools. Cursor is an AI, an agentic AI system that we use at NVIDIA. Every single software engineer at NVIDIA uses Cursor. Has improved our productivity tremendously.
여기서
It's
와리가리
basically
하다가
a partner for every one of our software engineers to generate code.
한 번만 더 와리가리 하고 내 거 체결해라 했는데 그냥 가네요.
So Cursor is an AI, agentic AI system that uses VS Code. Well, all of these different industries, whether it's chatbots or digital biology, where we have AI assistant researchers, or what is a robo-taxi? Inside a robo-taxi, of course, it's invisible, but obviously there's a AI chauffeur. That chauffeur is doing work. And the tool that it uses to do that work,
AI가 기사야.
And so
운전기사.
everything that we've made up until now,
AI 쇼퍼.
the whole world, everything that we've made up until now are tools.
자율주행차.
Tools for us to use. For the very first time, technology is now able to do work and help us be more productive. The list of opportunities go on, which is the reason why
와, 씨, 양자컴에 대해서 도대체 뭐라고 얘기를 했길래
that IT has never addressed. IT is a few $1 trillion that sits underneath.
양자컴 관련해서 얘기 시작할 때 분위기가 아주 좋았어요. 양자컴 쭉쭉쭉쭉 잘 오르더니 결론적으로
make it grow faster, make it larger. We have a severe shortage of labor.
장난 아니네.
Having AI
뭐 반등하긴
augments
하네요.
labor is going to help us grow. Now, what's interesting about this from a technology industry perspective also is that in addition to the fact that AI is new technology that addresses new segments of the economy, AI in itself is also a new industry.
아, 미친 진짜.
This token, as I was explaining earlier,
예, 양자컴 뭐라고 얘기했습니까?
after you tokenize all
양자컴.
these different modalities of information, there's a factory that needs to produce these numbers. Unlike the computer industry and the chip industry of the past. Notice, if you look at the chip industry of the past,
GPU와 양자 프로세스를 병렬로 연결해 함께 작동시키는 것이
maybe less,
양자컴의 미래이다.
of a multi-trillion
양자컴을
IT industry.
엔비디아 GPU와 직접 연결하는 새로운 기술을 공개를 했다. 엔비디아 NBQ 링크.
It doesn't take that much computation to use browsers. It doesn't take that much computation to use Word. We do the computation. But in this new world, there needs to be a computer
그러니까 결론은 저
that
엔비디아
understands
GPU를
context
써야지 된다
all
그
the time.
얘기입니까?
They can't pre-compute that. Because every time you use the computer for AI, every time you ask the AI to do something, the context is different. So it has to process all of that information. Environmental, for example, in the case of a self-driving car, it has to process the context of the car. Context processing. What is the instruction you're asking the AI to do? Then it's got to go and break down the problem
엔비디아
step
칩이
by step,
있어야
reason
개발
about it,
가능한
and come up with a plan and execute it.
그러겠지
Every
뭐.
single one at that step requires
그런 얘기 할 줄
enormous
알았어,
number of
그쵸?
tokens to be generated, which is the reason why we need a new type of system, and I call it an AI factory. It's an AI factory for sure. It's unlike a data center of the past. It's an AI factory because this factory produces one thing. Unlike the data centers of the past that does everything, stores files for all of us, runs all kinds of different applications. You can use that data center like you can use your computer for all kinds of applications. You can use it to play a game one day, you can use it to browse the web, you can use it, to do your accounting. And so that is a computer of the past, a universal general purpose computer. The computer I'm talking about here is a factory. It runs basically one thing. It runs AI, and its purpose is designed to produce tokens that are as valuable as possible, meaning they have to be smart. And you want to produce these tokens at incredible rates because when you ask an AI for something, you would like it to respond. And notice during peak hours, these AIs are now responding slower and slower because it's got a lot of work to do for a lot of people. And so you wanted to produce valuable tokens at incredible rates, and you wanted to produce it cost effectively. Every single word that I used are consistent with an AI factory, with a car factory, or any factory. It is absolutely a factory. And these factories never existed before. And inside these factories are mountains and mountains of chips. Which brings to today. What happened in the last couple of years? And in fact, what happened this last year? Something fairly profound happened this year, actually. If you look, in the beginning of the year, everybody has some attitude about AI. That attitude is generally, this is going to be big, it's going to be the future, and somehow, a few months ago, it kicked into turbocharge. And the reason for that is several things. The first is that we, in the last couple of years, have figured out how to make AI much, much smarter.
아, 이거
Rather than
진짜
just
아쉽네
pre-training,
이거.
pre-training basically says, let's take all of the information that humans have ever created, let's give it to the AI to learn from. It's essentially memorization and generalization. It's not unlike going to school back when we were kids. The first stage of learning. Pre-training was
133까지는
never
봤습니다.
meant, just as preschool was never meant to be the end of education. Pre-training,
9.75.
preschool, was simply teaching you the basic skills of intelligence so that you can understand how to learn everything else. Without vocabulary, without understanding of language and how to communicate, how to think, it's impossible to learn everything else. The next is post-training. Post-training, after pre-training, is teaching you skills. Skills to solve problems, break down problems, reason about it, how to solve math problems, how to code, how to think about these problems step by step. Use first principle reasoning. And then after that is where computation really kicks in. As you know, for many of us, we went to school, and that's, in my case, decades ago. But ever since, I've learned more, thought about more, and the reason for that is because we're constantly grounding ourselves in new knowledge, we're constantly doing research, and we're constantly thinking. Thinking is really what intelligence is all about. And so now we have three fundamental technology skills. We have these three technologies, pre-training, which still requires enormous amount of computation. We now have post-training, which uses even more computation. And now thinking puts incredible amounts of computation load on the infrastructure because it's thinking on our behalf for every single human. So the amount of computation necessary for AI to think, inference, is really quite extraordinary. Now, I used to hear people say that inference is easy. NVIDIA should do training. NVIDIA's going to do, they're really good at this, so they're going to do training. That inference was easy. how could thinking be easy? Regurgitating memorized content is easy. Regurgitating the multiplication table is easy. Thinking is hard, which is the reason why these three scales, these three new scaling laws, which is all of it in full steam, has put so much pressure on the amount of computation. Now, another thing has happened. From these three scaling laws, we get smarter models. And these smarter models need more compute. But when you get smarter models, you get more intelligence. People use it. If anything happens, I want to be the first one out. Just kidding. I'm sure it's fine. Probably just lunch. My stomach. Was that me? And so where was I? The smarter your models are, the smarter your models are, the more people use it. It's now more grounded. It's able to reason. It's able to solve problems it never learned how to solve before because it could do research. Go learn about it, come back, break it down, reason about how to answer your question, how to solve your problem, and go off and solve it. The amount of thinking is making the models more intelligent. The more intelligent it is, the more people use it. The more intelligent it is, the more computation is necessary. But here's what happened. This last year, the AI industry turned a corner, meaning that the AI models are now smart enough. They're worthy to pay for it. NVIDIA pays for every license of Cursor, and we gladly do it. We gladly do it because Cursor is helping a several $100,000 employee software engineer or AI researcher be many, many times more productive. So of course we'd be more than happy to do that. These AI models have become good enough that they are worthy to be paid for. Cursor, 11 Labs, Synthesia, Abridge, Open Evidence, the list goes on. Of course, OpenAI, of course, Claude. These models are now so good that people are paying for it. And because people are paying for it and using more of it, and every time they use more of it, you need more compute, we now have two exponentials. These two exponentials, one is the exponential compute requirement of the three scaling law. And the second exponential, the smarter it is, the more people use it, the more computing it needs. Two exponentials now putting pressure on the world's computational resource. At exactly the time when I told you earlier that Moore's Law has largely ended. And so the question is, what do we do? If we have these two exponential demands growing, and if we don't find a way to drive the cost down, then this positive feedback system, this circular feedback system, essentially called a virtuous cycle, essential for almost any industry, essential for any platform industry. It was essential for NVIDIA. We have now reached the virtuous cycle of CUDA. The more applications people create, the more valuable CUDA is. The more valuable CUDA is, the more CUDA computers are purchased. The more CUDA computers are purchased, more developers want to create applications for it. That virtuous cycle for NVIDIA has now been achieved after 30 years. We have achieved that also. 15 years later, we've achieved that for AI. AI has now reached the virtuous cycle. And so the more you use it, because the AI is smart and we pay for it, the more profit is generated, the more compute's put on the grid, the more compute is put into AI factories, the more compute, the AI becomes smarter, more people use it, more applications use it, the more problems we can solve. This virtuous cycle is now spinning. What we need to do is drive the cost down tremendously so that one, the user experience is better when you prompt the AI, it responds to you much faster. And two, so that we keep this virtual cycle going by driving its cost down so that it can get smarter, so that more people use it, so that so on and so forth. That virtual cycle is now spinning. But how do we do that when Moore's Law has really reached this limit? Well, the answer is called co-design. You can't just design chips and hope that things on top of it is going to go faster. The best you could do in designing chips is add, I don't know, 50% more transistors every couple of years. And if you added more transistors, we can add more transistors, and TSMC's got a lot of transistor, incredible company. We'll just keep adding more transistors. However, that's all in percentages, not exponentials. We need to compound exponentials to keep this virtual cycle going. We call it extreme co-design. NVIDIA is the only company in the world today that literally starts from a blank sheet of paper and can think about new fundamental architecture, computer architecture, new chips, new systems, new software, new model architecture, and new applications all at the same time. So many of the people in this room are here because you're different parts of that layer, different parts of that stack, you're working with NVIDIA. We fundamentally re-architect everything from the ground up. And then, because AI is such a large problem, we scale it up. We created a whole computer, a computer for the first time that has scaled up into an entire rack. That's one computer, one GPU. And then we scale it out by inventing a new AI Ethernet technology we call Spectrum X Ethernet. Everybody will say Ethernet's Ethernet. Ethernet's hardly Ethernet. Ethernet, Spectrum X Ethernet, is designed for AI performance, and it's the reason why it's so successful. And even that's not big enough. We'll fill this entire room of AI supercomputers and GPUs. That's still not big enough because the number of applications and the number of users for AI is continuing to grow exponentially, and we connect multiple of these data centers together, and we call that scale across. Spectrum XGS. Gigascale, Spectrum X Gigascale, XGS. By doing so, we do co-design at such an enormous level, such an extreme level, that the performance benefits are shocking. Not 50% better each generation, not 25% better each generation, but much, much more. This is the most extreme co-design computer we've ever made, and quite frankly, made in modern times. Since the IBM System 360, I don't think a computer has been ground up, reinvented like this ever. This system was incredibly hard to create. I'll show you the benefits in just a second. But essentially what we've done, we created, otherwise, hey Janine, you can come out. You have to meet me like halfway. All right, so this is kind of like Captain America's shield. So
캡틴 아메리카가 들고 있는 방패
if we were to create one
같이
giant
생겼네.
one giant GPU, this is what it would look like. This is the level of wafer scale processing we would have to do. It's
저 GPU
incredible.
저
All of
자이언트
this-
GPU 저거
all
하나에
of these
얼마일까요?
chips are now put into one giant rack. Did I do that or did somebody else do that? Into that one giant rack. You know, sometimes I don't feel like I'm up here by myself.
지금 무지하게 비싼 다이아몬드 하나 들고 저 얘기하고 있는 거랑 똑같아.
Makes all of these chips work together as one. It's actually completely incredible. I'll show you the benefits of that. The way it looks is this. So, thanks, Jimmy. I like this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Paul. I got it. In the future, next I'm just going to go like Thor. It's like when you're at home and you can't reach the remote and you just go like this and somebody brings it to you. That's, same idea. It never happens to me. I'm just dreaming about it. I'm just saying. Okay, so anyhow, we basically, this is what we created in the past. This is NVLink 8. Now, these models are so gigantic. The way we solve it is we turn this model, this gigantic model, into a whole bunch of experts. It's a little bit like a team. And so these experts are good at certain types of problems. And we collect a whole bunch of experts together. And so this giant multi-trillion-dollar AI model has all these different experts, and we put all these different experts on the GPU. Now, this is NVLink 72. We could put all of the chips into one giant fabric, and every single expert can talk to each other. So the master, the primary expert, could talk to all of the distributed work and all of the necessary context and prompts and bunch of data that we have to, bunch of tokens that we have to send to all of the experts. The experts would, whichever one of the experts are selected to solve the answer, would then go off and try to respond, and then it would go off and do that layer after layer after layer. Sometimes 8, sometimes 16, and sometimes these experts, sometimes 64, sometimes 256. But the point is, there are more and more and more experts. Well, here, NVLink 72, we have 72 GPUs. And because of that, we could put 4 experts in one GPU. The most important thing you need to do for each GPU is to generate tokens, which is the amount of bandwidth that you have in HBM memory. We have one GPU generating thinking for 4 experts, versus here, because each one of the computers can only put 8 GPUs, we have to put 32 experts into one GPU. So this one GPU has to think for 32 experts
네,
versus
나뱅크님,
this
예.
system, each GPU
고생
only has to think for
많으셨어요.
4.
예, 함께
And
해주셔서
because of that,
감사. 예,
the speed
굿밤요.
difference is
내일 봐요.
incredible.
See you.
And this just came out. This is the
나뱅크님.
benchmark done by
어쭈구리
Analysis. They do a really, really thorough job. And they benchmarked all of the GPUs that are benchmarkable. And it turns out it's not that many. If you look at the list of GPUs you can actually
91은
benchmark, it's like
지키는 것
90%
같은데.
Okay,
106.
but so we're comparing
Very
ourselves to
uncertain.
ourselves. But the second best GPU in the world is the H200 and runs all the workload.
여기까지 해야
Blackwell
되겠네. 여기까지 해야 되겠어.
per GPU is 10 times the performance.
106도는
How can you get
90일
10
마디
times the
잡고
performance when it's only twice
매수
the number
한번
of
더 노리고
transistors?
싶은데.
Well, the answer is extreme co-design.
차트가 멈춰 있네요.
And by understanding the nature of the future of AI models, and we're thinking across
러셀
that entire stack, we can create
이천지수도
architectures for the future.
양전했네요.
This is a big deal. It says we can now respond a lot faster, but this is even bigger deal.
빅스지수도 올랐어?
This next one.
참.
Look at this. This says that the lowest cost tokens in the world are generated by Grace Blackwell NVLink 72, the most expensive computer. On the one hand, GB200 is the most expensive computer. On the other hand,
가장
its
비싼
token
컴퓨터에서
generation
나온
capability is so
가장
great
싼
that it produces
코인이
it
뭐야?
at the lowest cost, because the tokens per second divided
가장 싼
by the
토큰?
total cost of ownership
가장
of
비싼
Grace Blackwell is
컴퓨터에서
so
만든.
good. It is the lowest cost way to generate tokens. By doing so, delivering incredible performance,
아, 전력 효율 얘기하는 거네.
delivering 10 times lower cost, that virtuous cycle can continue. Which then brings me to this one. I just saw this literally yesterday. This is the CSP CapEx. People are asking me about CapEx these days, and this is a good way to look at it. In fact, the CapEx of the top 6 CSPs, and this one is Amazon, CoreWeave, Google,
자본
Meta,
지출, 자본
Microsoft,
투자.
okay, these
CapEx.
CSPs together
CSP가 뭐지?
are going to invest this much in CapEx. And I would tell you, the timing couldn't be better. And the reason for that is now we have the Grace Blackwell NVLink 72 in all volume production, supply chain everywhere in the world is manufacturing it. So we can now deliver to all of them this new architecture so that the CapEx invests in instruments, computers that deliver the best TCO. Now, underneath this, there are 2 things that are going on. So when you look at this, it's actually fairly extraordinary. It's fairly extraordinary anyhow. But what's happening underneath is this. There are 2 platform shifts happening at the same time. One platform shift is going from general purpose computing to accelerated computing. Remember, accelerated computing, as I mentioned to you before, it does data processing, does image processing, computer graphics. It does computation of all kinds. It runs SQL, runs Spark, it runs, you ask it, you tell us what you need to have run, and I'm fairly certain we have an amazing library for you. You could be, a data center trying to make masks to manufacture semiconductors. We have a great library for you. And so underneath, irrespective of AI, the world is moving from general purpose computing to accelerated computing, irrespective of AI. And in fact, many of the CSPs already have services that have been here long ago before AI. Remember, they were invented in the era of machine learning, classical machine learning algorithms like XGBoost, algorithms like data frame.
주연님도 가시네. 네, 굿밤요, 주연님. 예.
Content filtering.
내일
All
봐요,
of those
see you.
technologies were created in the old days of general purpose computing. Even those algorithms, even those architectures are now better with accelerated computing. And so even without AI, the world's CSPs are going to invest into acceleration. NVIDIA's GPU is the only GPU that can do all of that plus AI. And ASIC might be able to do AI, but it can't do any of the others. NVIDIA could do all of that, which explains why it is so safe to just lean into NVIDIA's architecture. We have now reached our virtual cycle, our inflection point. And this is quite extraordinary. I have many partners in the room, and all of you are part of our supply chain, and I know how hard you guys are working. I want to thank all of you, how hard you are working, and thank you very much. Now I'm going to show you why. This is what's going on in our company's business. We're seeing extraordinary growth for Grace Blackwell for all the reasons that I just mentioned. It's driven by two exponentials. We now have visibility.
자꾸 아쉬운다.
We're probably the first technology company in history to have visibility into $500 billion of cumulative Blackwell and early ramps of Rubin through
자, 여기까지 하고 뭐 인사드릴게요. 네.
As you know, 2025 is not over.
연설은
2026 hasn't started.
기조연설 길어질 것 같고 이거 기조연설 끝나고 또 기자 간담회가 또 있을 수 있어. 아닙니까?
So far. Now this is out of that, we've already shipped 6 million of the Blackwells in the first
자,
several
고생
quarters, I guess the
많으셨습니다.
first 4
오늘
quarters of production. 3.5 quarters
화요일
of
야간장
production.
고생
We still have one more
많으셨고
quarter to go for
남은 시간
2025,
모두
and then we have 4
성투하시고
quarters. So the next 5 quarters, there's $500 million, $500
밤
billion,
되시고.
$500 billion.
예. 자, 내일 저녁 9시 다시 뵐게요. 방송은 한 30분쯤 후에 종료할게요. 감사합니다. 화요일 야간장 모두 고생 많으셨어요. 함께 해주셔서 너무 감사. 남은 시간 모두 성투하시고 밤 되시고 내일 저녁 9시 내일은 새벽 저 FOMC까지 다 같이 볼게요. 여자 9시에 다시 뵙겠습니다. 방송은 30분쯤 후에 운영할게요. 자, 내일 다시 뵙겠습니다. 내일 다시 봬요. See you. 뿅뿅뿅 샹큐 감사. 자, 내일 뵐게요. 감사합니다.
Small but never few. They're all I need to make it through. Every little morning, clear and warm. You're my quiet, gentle storm. You turn the hours into grace and keep the calm upon my face. Maybe peace was always near, hidden in the days right here. Not a dream, not far away. Just this heart that chose to stay. And when the night begins to fade, the promise stays in what we've made. The sunlight leans, the hours fall, but life still hums beneath it all. No grand design, no need for more. You are the day I'm waiting for. Every little morning, every smile.
is cold, the steam long gone. The record hums a faded song. The sunlight leans across the chair, but you're no longer sitting there. I watch the dust in amber air. Each speck remembers you were there. The morning sighs, the rhythm slow, like love that learned to let you go. There's something in this quiet sound, where memories keep circling round. A ghost of warmth, a note of pain, still brewing softly in my veins. The last drop of coffee still tastes like you. A little bitter, a little true. The kind of warmth that doesn't stay, but leaves a trace to light the gray. The last drop of coffee, cold but deep, holds all the things I meant to keep. And though the morning fades away, you're still my quiet cafe. You used to hum beneath your breath, some jazz we swore would never rest. Now silence fills the window pane, but somehow peace remains. The spoon still rests where you once stirred. The clock still ticks, it's undeterred. The chair still sighs, the light still bends, like mornings built on things that end. You said love's a warmth that cools to grace, and I see it now in this empty place. Not everything we lose is gone. Some hearts just hum and carry on. The rain begins to trace the glass. I let the moment slowly pass. The sense of you still finds a way through every sip, through every day. The last drop of coffee still tastes like you. A little bitter, a little true. The kind of warmth that doesn't stay, but leaves a trace to light the gray. The last drop of coffee, cold but deep, holds all the things I meant to keep. And though the morning fades away, you're still my quiet cafe. Ooh, I could pour another cup, but it wouldn't fill what's given up. The peace we built, the words we said, still linger here instead. Sometimes I sit, sometimes I smile and stay with you for just a while. In echoes soft and whispers low, I find the love I used to know. You always said, don't rush the sip, let it stay a while. Now I understand. You weren't talking about coffee. The last drop of coffee still tastes like you. A little bitter, a little true. I don't refill, I let it be a quiet kind of memory. The last drop of coffee, cold but kind, still warms the corners of my mind. And though the morning drifts away, you'll stay like the last drop of coffee. Some mornings I still pour 2 cups. Old habits die soft, not hard.
The morning hums, the curtains sway, a gentle start to one more day. The world's not perfect, that's okay. There's still some light to find my way. A half cup left, the coffee cold, a memory bright, a story told. I breathe it in, I let it stay, the simple peace of every day. I used to chase the flawless line, but peace was always there in time. In little things the heart can hold, a half cup still can shine like gold. Half cup of sunlight, half of me, still enough to make me see. The sky's not full, but it's still wide, and love still stirs sunlight, half a song, still enough to carry on. No perfect glass, no flawless view, just morning, warm and true. The mirror smiles with sleepy eyes. I laugh at how the time just flies. The plans I dropped, the dreams I lost, they shaped my peace, they paid their cost. A quiet hum, a gentle breeze reminds me I can live with ease. The world can wait, I'll take it slow. There's beauty in the undertow. Maybe we don't need everything. Maybe a little light is already enough. The smallest joys, the sweetest sound, are where my heart is truly found. And though the cup is not complete, its warmth still feels so bittersweet. Half cup of sunlight, half of me, still enough to make me see. The sky's not full, but it's still wide, and love still stirs from deep inside. Half cup of sunlight, half a song, still enough to carry on. No perfect glass, no flawless view, just morning, warm and true. I've learned to breathe in broken time, to taste the life between the lines. No need for more, no need for fame, just quiet grace without a name. And when the day begins to fade, I'll sip the peace my heart has made. A half cup's glow can still renew a little light, a softer hue. It's not about what's gone, it's about what stays. Half cup of sunlight, half of me, still enough to make me see. The sky's not full, but it's still kind, and love still lingers in my mind. Half cup of sunlight, softly mine, a gentle sip of life's design. And when the world feels old and blue, I'll pour what's left of you. The cup runs dry, but light remains through empty glass and window panes. And though it fades, I still can see that half a cup is peace to me.
The mirror shows a line or two, a sign of time, a hint of truth. I used to chase what I could prove. Now I just breathe and call it proof. The plans I made, they came and went. The dreams I lost were well spent. The things I missed, the hearts I knew, they built the peace I'm walking through. I've tried to fill the empty space with words and winds I can't replace. But every day the same sun shines and tells me what's already mine. Maybe that's enough, this simple life, this gentle love. No higher place, no perfect climb, just being here in borrowed time. Maybe that's enough, no need for gold or grand applause. The heart still beats, the sky still moves, and maybe that's enough. I've heard the noise, I've played the part, I've worn the smile, I've hid the scars. But peace was never found in fame. It's in the quiet where hearts remain. A cup of coffee soft and still, a window seat, a morning chill. The world feels right, it's not too much, just warmth that I can touch. I used to think I had to fight to prove my worth, to chase the light. But now I know the brightest flame can burn from nothing's name. Maybe that's enough, this simple life, this gentle love. No higher place, no perfect climb, just being here in borrowed time. Maybe that's enough, no need for gold or grand applause. The heart still beats, the sky still moves, and maybe that's enough. Ooh, the world will rush, it always will, but I can't choose to just be still. The greatest gift, the quiet kind, is peace I finally find. Maybe that's enough, this song, this breath, this little love. No need to run, no need to climb, I'm home in my own time. Maybe that's enough, the rain, the sun, the push, the hush, the world still turns, the stars still prove that maybe that's enough. The light drifts down, the noise fades slow, and peace is all I know. Your voice drifts soft across the bed, a sleepy smile, a kiss instead. The kettle hums a lazy song, the kind of peace we've had so long. The window glows in amber haze, our sleepy hearts begin to raise. You touch my cheek, I find my way through honey light and soft cafe. We don't need to chase the hours, the morning feels like it's all ours. Let's melt inside this gentle hue, the world can wait, me and you. Honey, morning sweet and slow, let the daylight overflow. Every breath a gentle tune, floating softly through the room. Honey, morning love so true, every sunrise starts with you. No rush, no rules, no grand design, just your hand resting next to mine. The coffee steams, the toast turns gold. You hum a song you used to know. I laugh and spill, you kiss my hand. We make no plans, we just understand. Outside the rain begins to play, a jazz beat tapping on the clay. We dance a little half awake, in rhythm only we can make. No crowded streets, no busy sound, just your soft heartbeat all around. The scent of warmth, the taste of time, your love is reason, rhythm, rhyme. Honey, morning sweet and slow, let the daylight overflow. Every breath a gentle tune, floating softly through the room. Honey, morning love so true, every sunrise starts with you. No rush, no rules, no grand design, just your hand resting next to mine. Ooh, the world
whisper, don't go yet. Solo, I smile, where else would I go? The air tastes like vanilla rain, and peace runs softly through my veins. Oh, honey, morning, sweet and slow. Let the golden hours flow. Every breath a gentle tune, the scent of love in afternoon. Honey, morning, love so true. Every sunrise starts with you. No rush, no rules, no grand design, just your heart beating close to mine. The kettle stops, the world resumes, but still your warmth fills every room. Honey, morning, it stays new. Every day begins with you.
Steam rises slow like thoughts of you. A quiet hum the daylight drew. The window holds a silver hue, while dreams dissolve in drops of dew. I pour a cup, it meets the air. The scent of warmth is everywhere. Your laughter lingers soft and sweet, like sugar melting at my feet. Paper folds, the kettle sings, the world begins its gentle spin. Our photographs beside the sink, your eyes still shine, they make me think of all the days we never planned, yet somehow walked them hand in hand. Love never shouted, never burned, it simply waited, then returned. And though the seasons come and go, I find you in the things I know, in coffee cups and early rain, in whispered songs that ease the pain. You're the calm within my cup, the reason I keep waking up. Every sip a soft embrace, the taste of you I can't replace. Even if the world should part, you're the coffee in my heart. The clock moves slow, the sunlight bends across the floor where morning ends. I watch the shadows start to fade and think of choices that we made. No grand goodbyes, no last regrets, just quiet truth the soul forgets. I never needed diamond rings, just peace that simple loving brings. I still recall your sleepy grin, you're half awake, come closer in. The scent of toast, the jazz on low, the way your hand said all I'd know. Some people love with words that shine, but ours was brewed like vintage wine. Time cooled the cup, yet kept the flame, and morning still repeats your name. If fate should pour another chance to fill this life with sweet romance, I'd choose the same slow, quiet start. No rush, no fear, just heart to heart. For every road and every place, I'd still remember how you taste. Not bitter now, but smooth and clear, like peace that settles after years. So here's to love that never fades, to gentle hands and sunny days, to all the things we can't restart. You'll always be the coffee in my heart. Yeah.
steady hand, the simple things I understand. No race to win, no proof to find, just air and breath that feel aligned. The noise can wait, the clock can fade. I live inside the peace I've made. I used to hold my dreams too tight, afraid they'd vanish overnight. But love is calm, not wild or loud. It grows beneath the passing crowd. You show me how to breathe again, to trust the soft instead of wind. And now this quiet feels like grace, a song that time cannot erase. The gentle truth, it took a while, but now it lives behind my smile. Morning ease, you move through me, soft and warm intentionally. Not too bright, but always near, the kind of peace I needed here. I don't need storms, I don't need praise, just this calm that softly stays. The coffee cools, the window sings of distant cars and subtle things. I hear your voice inside the tone that tells me I am not alone. The world can spin, the world can wait. I'll meet it slow, I'll meet it straight. This is enough, the day, the start, the quiet beating of my heart. I used to think I had to shine, but now the glow is simply mine. Morning ease, you move through me, soft and warm intentionally. Not too loud, not forced to please, just a song that helps me breathe. You remind me how to stay present in the simplest way. Maybe joy is never loud, it hums beneath the busy crowd. Maybe love is found in lessons, silence shaped by tenderness. The world won't know this kind of art, but I can feel it in my heart. Every dawn this truth remains, peace is quiet, not contained. So let the morning find my face, unhurried steps, unguarded grace. No need to fight, no need to chase, just life unfolding at its pace. Morning ease, I'm finally free. The world begins inside of me.
The city yawns, the cars drift by, a sleepy trumpet hums nearby. I sit beside the window glow, watching people come and go. Steam from my cup curls slow and thin, the warmth is soft against my skin. Somehow this quiet feels complete, a blue mug, a quiet street. No plans, no race to chase the day, just jazz and morning slipping away. I close my eyes and breathe it deep, this little piece I get to keep. Blue mug, quiet street where every heartbeat keeps its beat. No noise, no rush, no need to run, just me and the rising sun. Blue mug, quiet street, the world outside still half asleep. And in this hush I start to see the generous part of me. A cat walks slow across the lane, the smell of bread, the sound of rain. Somebody hums a tune below, a melody I used to know. A paper plane drifts down the hall, time forgets to move at all. I sip again, the flavor sweet, my heart learns how to be. The moments bloom like jazz in spring, a tender chord on every string. I used to hurry just to prove, now I stay still and let life move. Bloom up, quiet street where every heartbeat keeps its beat. No noise, no rush, no need to run, just me and the rising sun. Bloom up, quiet street, the world outside still half asleep, and in this hush I start to see the gentlest part of me. Once I thought I needed thunder to make my story sound complete. The peace was hiding right here under the rhythm of these empty streets. Now the morning paints my window gold, and I'm not scared of growing old. The coffee cools, the light runs deep. Bloom up, quiet street, the world can wait just one more sip. The jasmine hums, the sunlight drips. Nothing to chase, nothing to keep, just peace and breath and me. Bloom up, quiet street, my favorite place, my small retreat. No need to rush, no need to prove. The slowest heart still learn to move. Bloom up, quiet street, the sound of life so bittersweet. And if the day forgets my name, I'll still feel just the same. Steam fades, the rhythm ends, the city wakes, the dream begins. I take one last sip before I leave. Bloom a quiet street.
The morning hums, the window sighs, the city wakes beneath blue skies. You pour your laugh into my tea, and suddenly it's all I need. No crowded dreams, no restless plans, just quiet warmth between our hands. The world outside can rush and spin, but peace begins when you walk in. The sunlight moves where you belong, my heart slows down, the world feels strong. You make the air feel light, turn gray to gold and wrongs to right. With every breath I'm sure again, love's the calm beneath my skin. You make the air feel light, and even silence shines so bright. I don't need more, I just need this, the way you turn the day to bliss. You speak in tones the wind can hear, the kind that make the noise disappear. The room feels wide, the walls seem kind. You rearrange the weight in my mind. No grand design, no big reveal, just simple truth in what I feel. The quiet hum of life's refrain. You teach me joy without the strain. It's not the dream I used to chase, it's softer now, it's just your face. You make the air feel light, you make my morning sound just right. Each note you breathe becomes my tune, like sunlight pouring into June. You make the air feel free, like time forgot the need to flee. And every glance you leave behind turns weight to warmth inside my mind. Maybe peace was always near, hidden till you brought it clear. Maybe love's not loud or wild, but calm and kind and reconciled. And if the world should start to spin, I'll find my ground where you begin. The morning hums, the shadows fade, the light returns to what we've made. I don't need stars, I don't need night. You make the air feel light.
The streets are slow, the air feels mild. The world's still waking, half in style. The paper waits beside my cup, and I don't care to pick it up. The phone's asleep, the clock's on pause. No deadlines, plans are heavy cause. I breathe and let the morning stay. Halfway to Sunday, I drift away. The city hums beneath my feet, a rhythm soft, a gentle beat. And for a while I'm free to be a man who simply lets things be. Halfway to Sunday, I'm halfway alive. Between the rush and peace that I survive. No need to win, no need to prove, just finding calm in something smooth. Halfway to Sunday, I slow my mind, leave all the noise and work behind. The world can spin, I'll stay this way. Halfway to Sunday. The coffee cools, I hum a tune. The jazzman croons a soft monsoon. The window glows with yellow haze, and I get lost in simple days. The week was long, it took its due, but now the skies are softer hue. I sip the peace I've come to crave, like morning waves that gently save. They say success is never rest, but I think peace might be the best. If life's a race, I'll take a seat and let the silence taste so sweet. The sirens fade, the traffic slows, the sunlight warms the tips of toes. A lazy tune, a whispered tone, I'm fine right here alone. Halfway to Sunday, I'm halfway alive. Between the rush and peace that I survive. No need to chase, no need to climb, just let the music set the time. Halfway to Sunday, I lose the ache, I give more than I meant to take. The world can spin, I'll let it play. Halfway to Sunday. Ooh, maybe life was meant to breathe, not always run, not always leave. The slower song, the softer flame, still burns but doesn't blame. So let me drift, just let me be. Half dream, half melody. The sky's not blue, it's somewhere gray, and I love it that way. I'll call my mom, I'll read that book, I'll sit exactly where I look. No race, no plan, no grand cliche, just halfway to Sunday. Halfway to Sunday, I'm halfway alive. Between the rush and peace that I survive. No finish line, no one to blame, just slowing down inside my name. Halfway to Sunday, the world's brand new, a little less gray, a little more blue. If peace had sound, I'd hear it say, you're halfway to Sunday. Maybe that's enough for today.
There are letters on the table, folded neatly side by side. I've read them all 100 times, but never learned to say goodbye. The ink has faded soft and thin, but every word still pulls me in. You wrote of dreams of Sunday skies, now all that's left are quiet Used to think the heart would break, but some things only bend and ache, and love, it doesn't fade or die, it just learns how to say why. Letters on the table still whisper your name. No tears, no label, just echoes that remain. I keep them like a story of love we couldn't save. Letters on the table, a heart I couldn't break. The sunlight hits the paper folds like gentle warmth on something old. I trace your words, they still feel new. A little sad, a little true. The world has moved, but I stay still. I learn to breathe against my will, and every day I make my peace with all the things I couldn't keep. I almost sent one last reply, but sometimes silence feels more kind. Your voice still hums when nights are cold, a melody I still behold. It doesn't hurt the way it did, it just reminds me that we lived. Letters on the table still whisper your name. No tears, no label, just echoes that remain. I keep them like a story of love we couldn't save. Letters on the table, a heart I couldn't break. Ooh, I've learned that time rewrites the tone. It turns goodbyes to a soft unknown. And though the ink may slowly fade, the warmth inside won't drift away. I pour some tea, I turn the page, the quiet hum of memories age, and in the light I softly see you're still a part of me. Not every story needs an end, some just stay open. Letters on the table still whisper through time. They hum of love so stable, even past its prime. I'll leave them where they're able to rest but never fade. Letters on the table, the peace we never made. The room grows calm, the shadows fall, and somehow I don't mind at all. The letters stay, the heart feels new. And love still writes me through.
I used to dream of city lights